Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm very excited to be speaking with you. My name is Matt. I am a sales account executive here at Babylon Micro-Farms. We do on-site farming technology that can be grown directly in a dining space. And I have Chelsea here with me as well from Arbor Acres.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here today.
Now, Chelsea, would you mind giving me just a little bit of background about what you do, and a little bit about Arbor Acres as well?
Of course. I am a certified dietary manager at Arbor Acres. We are a continued care retirement community, CCRC, and we have independent, assisted, skilled nursing, as well as memory care. And I am the certified dietary manager for the assisted living healthcare building. Arbor Acres has been here for, I'd say, about 80 years or so. And we have a community garden that we've always kind of tended to. And for the past year, starting in October of 2024, we started our journey with Babylon Farms and doing indoor hydroponic growing. And we have had so much fun with it so far.
Well, that's great to hear. One of our favorite sectors that we've had the opportunity of partnering with is senior living communities, and it's been incredible to meet individuals just like Chelsea over my past few years here at Babylon. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and dive in. We do have a few questions for you today, Chelsea, and I do kind of want to lead off with maybe somewhat of a broad question, but just in your experience, and maybe this can extend beyond Babylon as well. Why do you see it as being important to use fresh and local ingredients in meals for older adults?
In my personal opinion, I think it's important for everybody to have those type of fresh ingredients, but especially for the older generation. They're jam-packed with nutrients. They have far less preservatives and things that you find on the shelves. And they just pack so much extra flavor when you're using it fresh from your garden or fresh from the produce stand down the road. I know working with assisted living residents, I get a lot of residents that come and ask me if they can incorporate a recipe from their daughter's tomatoes that she brings into from her garden or from the produce stand down the road. And it's not easy to tell them that we can't use things like that because we have to use credited sources for our food. So it's really fun to be able to pull from our garden that we have right here and be able to incorporate those into meals. I
Sure.
think that it's really important for the older generation to know that their food doesn't have a whole bunch of different steps for it to get to their plate.
Right. So kind of in addition to the high quality ingredients, you also see it sounds like kind of a benefit in having those high quality ingredients being either grown on site or at least having high visibility to the residents themselves.
Yeah, they grow up in a generation where they didn't run to the store for everything. They
Right.
needed something, they went out to their garden or they went to their neighbor's house. And I think that it is really important that as they grow older, they still kind of keep those roots. And
Sure.
they ask all the time, who are our local vendors that we use? Where do we get our products from? I like to tell them that we use the ones that are not far. We don't do a lot of importing, but they really enjoy the things that are coming from their backyard.
Sure. Now, in addition to obviously being diners at Arbor Acres, how have you seen those residents get involved with having the farm on site and just having the Gallery Micro-Farm at your location? How have you seen them engage with it in addition to just having that visibility?
So it's actually a funny story. When we first got it, they were not a big fan. They were wondering what this big, huge empty box was that just was dropped into their living space and what we were planning to do with it. But as we started learning how to use it ourselves and they started watching the things grow, I got more and more residents knocking at my door. What are y'all doing out there? What do you have growing? Why do we have stuff growing in the lobby in January? And now it's become part of their weekly routine. We have a gardening day that we spend, we allot about 30 minutes to an hour, and they come help us transfer the plants. They help us trim down the herbs and the lettuces, as well as help us discard.
Well, that's great to hear. Can you tell us a little bit more about those kind of gardening days and engagement events. I've had the privilege of kind of following along with your path and what you've been doing with the farm, seeing some of your themed plantings. But would you mind talking a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So we have our gardening day once a week. We actually do it on Wednesdays where they come and they help us, whatever it be. There are some days where we don't have a lot, so we just play bingo or we sit and we try the microgreens. But then there are some days where they're watching me deep clean it. They're
Right.
helping us transplant. They're taking stuff down and trimming it up so we can get more harvest out of it, and they really enjoy it. They come down with their aprons and their hats. I think sometimes they forget we don't have to go outside to do it. They're so used to grabbing their gardening stuff, but they really enjoy coming down and doing things that require them to help out.
That's great. And I know also just from keeping an eye on some of those photos I've seen on LinkedIn, it sounds like you've actually been able to tie in some of the produce from the farm into meal items in your dining room. It
Mhm.
sounds like maybe there was some cilantro going. You mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, of course. So we have quite a bit of cilantro growing. We actually have some in there currently. And one thing we've done, we offer a staff meal for every staff member on campus between 11 and 2. And we do Taco Tuesdays. And our chef really enjoys coming out when we have those specific herbs that he can grab from and making pico de gallo fresh and doing all the things like that when it comes to incorporating fresh local ingredients. I also think he enjoys the fact that he doesn't have to order herbs as much anymore.
That's
But
great.
we've also I know we had mint in the garden not too long ago, and for those that know, mint grows like a weed, so we got creative with all of the mint that we were growing.
Hmm.
So we did mint juleps for Kentucky Derby, as well as made a lavender lemonade on a nice spring day. That was really fun. They did enjoy that. I enjoy the things that I can do. I'm not a chef in the kitchen. I'm not mixing ingredients, but it was really fun for me to go pick the lavender and make some lemonade and serve it to the residents and say, I made this 5 minutes ago.
Sure. And I also saw that you had a event for Earth Day earlier this year.
Oh,
It looked
yeah.
like you had a table set up right in front of the farm, and I also saw it looked like you were actually pulling some of the seedlings, and you can see here in this photo from the farm to it looks like be potted plants.
hmm So we actually did an entire week worth of gardening. It was National Gardening Week, and that Friday ended with Earth Day. So we did little events every week to get the residents excited. We invited everyone across campus to come and join us during our gardening sessions. Our residents actually made specific aprons. You can see that my director and I are wearing the aprons that we use for our gardening, but they made their own aprons as well with their names. They decorated pots that you can see in the photo. And on that day that we did our gardening exercise, we planted half of the mint in the garden, in the hydroponic garden, and then we let them plant the other half in the soil. So they really enjoyed being able to plant the things and watch them grow. I will say that you guys have the Babylon farm down to a science because our mint in the pots didn't do as great as we thought it would, but they really enjoyed getting back to their roots and getting their hands dirty and being able to go back to what they remember doing when they were growing up.
Sure. And you said across the entire campus, it sounds like there were multiple different stages of residents that were able to participate in this event.
Mhm.
There's independent living as well as assisted living, and it
There
sounds like
were
you were able to kind of increase the spread of that touch point with your residents.
Yes, so that was one thing is we did get it for assisted living,
Okay.
and all the other areas were curious about what was going on. So as you can see in the photo, we had a booth set up and we basically explained step by step to anyone that wanted to come by and listen of what we did on our Wednesdays, and we opened our invitation for everyone to join us. I think that when it comes to gardening, it should not be limited to who lives where. If you want to come help us out with something, you should come. If you want to come say, hey, I would really enjoy having some cilantro for my stuff. Do you have any? I'd be happy to pick you some.
That's great. That's great. And how have you seen having the farm on site impact resident engagement, whether it be folks who see it every day, or even folks who are more on the independent side that may just pass by? Have you seen an increase in your engagement, or maybe just a different level of engagement?
I've definitely seen a large amount of engagement when it comes to the residents wanting to interact with the garden. As being one of the main people that work on it, I'm constantly in there clipping and cutting and transferring and wiping down. And when they have tours or just residents walking through, they're wondering, what are you doing? What is this? How do I get involved in whatever you're doing? As for the residents that work with it weekly, I think that they get sort of a sense of accomplishment when it comes to growing the food that's going into their bodies. There's nothing like reaping what you sow. They help us with getting started. They see me clip it every day. And then even down to the edible flowers that we use as garnish, they know that they help transfer those into the little pots. And now months or weeks later, they see it on their plate. And it really gives them a sense of joy and community knowing that this came from 20 yards away.
Right, right. And have you seen that kind of increase in engagement extend into your dining program as a whole, even in areas other than the farm itself and having that fresh produce?
I definitely have. I see a lot of people coming and asking what's going on. I love telling everyone what our goal is for the garden and having residents come through and ask how they can get involved and help out. Uh, our cooks are even down to, what are you growing next? I'd love to know what I can plan based off of whatever you're growing. And I will say that we do have a lot of, we can stretch our herbs a lot more. Arbor Acres is a very large facility. We actually have 500 residents campus wide. So
Wow.
it's hard to kind of stretch that when you have lettuces, but we
Sure.
can stretch it a lot more with herbs and the herb mixes. So when we've got a fresh bat of cilantro, we can make that go for the entire campus.
That's great. And between yourself and your chefs, are there any new crops or even maybe up and coming event ideas that you're most excited for?
I would say I'm excited. I will say we have not gone through the list of everything. That's one of our goals of 2025 is to figure out what grows well, what we enjoy, and what we can use. But we're also just going down the list of what you guys have to offer and trying out the new crops. I will say I'm very excited for the purple and green basil because I want to make a pesto and I want to do that with the purple opal basil and just kind of see how it looks and tastes different than what everyone's used to.
Sure, sure. Well, I do kind of want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about the just as we kind of wrap up about the ingredients themselves and kind of the impact that that can have on your residents. What does food as medicine mean to you?
So, in my opinion, I think that food is the best medicine. Sometimes you don't know what's going on, you don't know what kind of deficiencies you're having, but most of the time, if you can figure out what your body is missing, you can find those ingredients in the food that you eat. I like to say that every bite has a purpose, and as you get older and your appetite decreases, your sense of taste kind of diminishes away. And I don't want to say they're set in their ways, but they definitely don't love to try new things as often as
Sure.
they should or they should want to. A lot of them turn to meal replacement shakes to get the things that they need.
Sure.
And one of my least favorite things to see is a resident come to the dining room at lunchtime and say, "Oh, I'm full. I had my shake today. I don't really want to eat."
Mhm.
Because I think that if you have a variety of the food in your on your plate, those shakes are unnecessary or they can be the secondary piece. But I like to think that the more farm to table you do, that's the easiest way to keep yourself away from the doctor.
Sure, sure. And then just kind of on that note and kind of as a closing note to wrap things up, what do you see as the future of sustainable food and indoor farming, specifically within senior living? And I'd love to hear also if you have any plans or ideas for the future at Arbor Acres.
So I definitely think sustainable gardening is important anywhere you go. It's what we have done since the beginning of time.
Right.
Food and the need for food is not going anywhere. And so I think that the more sustainable and relatively close options you have and can find, the better you're going to be overall. And I think Arbor Acres is just the micro garden is just the beginning. I've already heard talks that they would like to get a couple more just because it's a lot. It's very nice to have those herbs and those ingredients year round, not have to worry
Sure.
about if the frost is going to take over, if you planted a little too late, or if the sun gets too hot one day, you don't have to worry about not having the crop that you spent so much time putting into. I think it takes a little bit of the think work away from it. And that's
Sure.
especially important when it comes to the older generation because they need these nutrients that come from these foods, and kind of not having to think about it and not having to remember to order something because it's already right down the hallway is very
Sure.
important for our breakers.
I hear you. Well, that's great. Do you have anything else to add before we move into a little bit of Q&A? I just want to, as we wrap up, any other tidbits or even just stories that you have about the farm?
Yeah. I am excited about all of the things that we're planning to do. I know me and my team, we've been planning to have herbs and different ingredients on a timeline of how things are going. So one thing that we have planned is we're going to have an Italian herb mix planted, and National Pasta Day is October the 17th. So we're going to have a spaghetti off where everybody takes whatever ingredients that they want from the micro garden and they make their own pasta dish. We're going to let the residents be the judge. And I think that's going to be a really fun way to get everyone in the community involved and still be able to provide them a fresh, nutritious meal.
That's a great idea, and we're all very excited to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and move into just a little bit of time for any questions. If any of our attendees have any questions about Babylon, about Arbor Acres, really anything to that end. So it looks like we do have one coming through asking about advice that I guess, Chelsea, what advice would you give to other senior living communities who are considering on-site farming, whether that be the unit that itself, or even how to incorporate it, how to prep the team for it? Any advice you can think of?
My advice would be how we kind of got into it in our own facility is as many people you can get involved and excited about it, call those people. We had meetings upon meetings, and what really sold it is my rapport I have with our activities coordinator. Me and her, we work side by side to kind of make sure that activities are incorporated with the garden.
Okay.
Uh, get recipes and ingredients that you know that you would want to get out of the farm, and how you would incorporate those into your meals, because that's the biggest thing is making sure that you use the items. Nobody
Sure.
wants something if it's just going to sit there and look pretty and not have a use.
Have you noticed any improvements in general resident wellness since the farm has been installed, whether that be from an ingredient side on dining or an engagement side as far as the residents being able to participate? Have you seen any improvements on that side?
I definitely think so. I know our chef, when he does pull ingredients, he's very active about putting it on the menu. So we've had a farfalle pesto pasta, and he made sure to put in bright colors from our micro garden. And we had residents coming because they
That's
wanted to
great.
try it. I think that that engagement itself really increases the wellness for residents. It makes them want to come and eat a little bit more. And that's all I really want is residents to live a long, happy life with the food that they eat.
If there aren't any other questions, I will go ahead and wrap that up. I've got a little bit of information for anyone who's attending who wants to learn more about the farm itself. But I do want to just pause here and take a chance and say thank you so much, Chelsea, for joining us. It's been incredible to watch your journey with the farm itself, or I should say, watch the farm's journey with you, rather, and how you've just incorporated it so incredibly well into your dining program. You're just a great example of how these units can be utilized in senior living communities. And we're excited to see what's to come.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed sharing my experiences, and I can't wait to see what future things we have in the future with Babylon.